Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of The Pint. My name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And it's time for the triple T again, Lloyd. Trash, tolerable, or treasure.
I'm sure glad you said it.
Yeah, I know. I have to do it slow. And I said I said treasure, but that's okay.
Treasure.
It's a treasure. When we first started doing these shows, we kind of said that it was going to be the films are considered trash either like through their box office take or like their word of mouth or critical score and their reputation, let's say. And we tend to do ones that are really considered trash based on some reason, you know, they weren't good or something along
word of mouth too.
A lot of word of mouth. Like, oh, that movie's crap. The one we're doing tonight, word of mouth wise, you might say, I don't know if that's a trash movie, but box office and like critical score say it's a trash movie. We're talking about 1998's Deep Rising today. And again, I think it's a little bit off of maybe our usual, stuff like Rollerball 2002, because I think a lot of people genuinely do like this movie, but it's only fair to remember that whether or not this movie is liked now, how was it received back in 98? Is a whole different thing. So I think that's fair. So Deep Rising came out on January 30th of 1998. It was originally supposed to come out in 1997 around Christmas time. From what I was reading, I believe it was due to Titanic that they decided to push it back a little bit.
Right.
Because, again.
You can't bring out another boat movie.
Yeah, don't.
Titanic. Sorry.
Yeah, one boat movie per, one giant, like, world-changing boat movie this year alone. That's all we're doing. Written and directed by a guy named Stephen Sommers. Most people know Stephen Sommers because he made The Mummy in 1999, which is a huge people love that movie. It's a great movie. He also made, people might forget, he also made a truly trash movie called Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. That's one of the few movies I can remember when it came out on video, shutting it off halfway through. I hated that movie so much. I hated that movie.
I have to say, and I think I've told you this before, I might be one of the only people that didn't really care for The Mummy when it came out.
I think when it came out, I was fine with it. I think I liked it more upon like video and stuff. Both sequels going in, and also Scorpion King, like it's not a good franchise.
Oh, the CGI was so bad.
Oh, Mummy Returns, when the Scorpion King comes out, I'm like, how did Jurassic Park come out like 6 years before this, or 8 years before this? Like, how did Terminator 2 come out 10 years before this? And we've got this like fucking mongoloid looking rock thing, coming out. Like he's half scorpion. He's half scorpion. He's half like deprived of oxygen. Yeah, it's terrible. It's fucking awful. Deep Rising was filmed between June and October of 1996. In Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, Malibu, California. Back to Stephen Sommers real quick. He was a staff writer at Hollywood Pictures in the mid-1990s, and he had a spec script he wrote there called Tentacle. And eventually it became Deep Rising, which also I believe was released by Hollywood Pictures. So let's start figuring out, like, look, okay, so maybe it's not Stephen Sommers. I mean, he has a good pedigree with The Mummy. Yes, Van Helsing stunk, and yes, G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, a lot of people didn't like, but, he has The Mummy. So I don't know if it was the director's fault this movie kind of had a bad beginning. Let's talk about the cast and see if like everything fell apart there.
My God, it's full of stars.
All right, so let's see who's in this. Let's see what major movie stars are in this.
Yeah.
So we have as our lead man, Treat Williams, as John Finnegan, Captain John Finnegan. Captain, basically, of a tugboat for hire, basically the Han Solo of the sea.
Yeah, why can't mercenaries have their own boat? I don't get that. Like, I don't understand that.
Right. It was odd. Born in Rowayton, Connecticut, graduated from Kent High School. There's a lot about this guy I didn't realize. He's a pilot. He's a flight instructor. He's related to P.T. Barnum. He's been nominated for 2 SAG Awards, 3 Golden Globes. He was featured in February 1980 Playgirl magazine.
Oh, you can get Treat Williams' dick on the internet? I'm going to check that out later.
I guess. And then he was an Echo Base trooper on Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, I actually only found that out a couple years ago. He was filming something, I think Hoth was Norway, I believe. He was filming something there, and he was friends with Carrie Fisher, and she said, you can come over and sneak on set and play one of the troopers. So I read that a few years ago. That's interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool. So that's Treat. So let's see, leading man. Let's see who is the leading lady. Famke Janssen as Trillian. Good name, Trillian St. James. Basically, she's a thief in this movie. That's her purpose. She's a Dutch actress and model. Someone else. Do you know Claire Forlani?
Yeah, she was from. She was in Mallrats, right? She originated this role and got fired or quit.
Yeah, exactly. She dropped out after 3 days. Let's see. Famke Janssen. She was Xenia Onatopp in GoldenEye, right? She was Jean Grey in Phoenix in the X-Men movies. Lenore Mills in the Taken trilogy. And in 2008, she was appointed Goodwill Ambassador for Integrity by the UN. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, me neither.
Can I ask you a question about Famke Janssen?
Yeah. I think I know where you're going.
I think we might have discussed this a little bit, but not on the show. Did she give you, I mean, look, let's be totally honest right off the bat. She's gorgeous.
Let me just say, Deep Rising, Famke Janssen, absolutely beautiful and stunning.
Yeah, she's in like a cocktail dress for, a good amount of the movie. Very beautiful face. Does she almost give you like possible?
Are you going to say
trainee vibes?
Man vibes?
Like I'm just saying, does she give you a little bit of the vibe that like if you met Famke Janssen at like a bar and and you took her home and things started going from good to better. I don't know if Famke Janssen ended up having a dick, if I'd be surprised. And I'm not even saying look, I'm 47. I don't even know where I'm at with that kind of stuff in my life in terms of like, who knows? Like, I don't know if I'm going to run out of the room like I would have when I was 20, but do you feel that at all? That like she maybe has some masculine angularness to her face and stuff?
I think she's very soft in this movie, but yeah, like other things, and especially, more mature pictures of her now definitely have that feeling. But you know what? That's not bad. Everybody's got their thing.
No, I'm not. This is not a bad thing. Yeah. Look, I'm semi admitting to that fact that I might fuck a guy. I mean, but in all seriousness,
I look like her. I would probably. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then then I started feeling like weird. Like, am I the only person that thinks this? If you type in Famke Janssen transsexual, it comes up all over the place. Like,
really?
Yes. And apparently, do you remember that show Nip Tuck?
Yeah, she was in that, right?
She was in that, and she played a transsexual in that. So, like, I feel like my kind of feelings and my curiosity about her looks were not unfounded. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right, I see it. All right, so after that, we have Anthony Heald as Simon Canton. Well, he's a scumbag in everything except for one movie that I've seen. Owner of a luxury cruise ship called the Argonautica.
Terrible name for a boat.
Another character actor. Yeah, the Argonautica. You will know him as Dr. Chilton from Silence of the Lambs. I'm having a friend for dinner, Dr. Chilton, the assistant principal in Boston Public. He was the troubled psychic in the X-Files episode Closure, an episode that dealt with what happened to Mulder's sister, Samantha. He played the scumbag attorney, Daniel Longdale, in 8mm, another movie we did.
Oh, right. I forgot. Yeah. Yep.
And then the one good film that I've seen him in, and I told you we did an episode years ago. Well, not a few years ago. Was the best of 2020 movies. I think I was stuck in my basement and I had COVID at that point. A little known film called Alone, where he played an actual good guy who came to try to save somebody.
Yeah, because he usually plays a dickbag.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So then we have Derek O'Connor as Captain H.W. Atherton of the Arga Nautica. He played the South African mercenary Peter Vorstedt in Lethal Weapon 2.
Oh, fuck. That's who that guy was.
Yeah.
I could not put it together because in Lethal Weapon 2, he's got blonde hair and is clean shaven. And in this, they made him look Italian, kind of. Like they gave him like dark hair and a mustache. Yep. Okay, yeah.
And one other thing. So he plays Captain Atherton, right? And the cinematographer of this movie is Howard William Atherton. So can't be a...
no, they probably... Yeah.
All right, so Kevin J. O'Connor as Joey Pantucci. This guy's hilarious in this movie. He's annoying. He is the Gilligan to Treat Williams' skipper.
Yeah.
He has all the best lines. He sounds a bit like Bobcat Goldthwait. He's a character actor, again. Done some major films like FX2, Lord of Illusions, The Mummy, Van Helsing, films we've just talked about. There Will Be Blood, G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra. But I guess he's a favorite of Stephen Sommers and Paul Thomas Anderson, who often cast him in their films.
Like you said, his voice is kind of maybe his most known attribute. He sounds like he's constantly going through puberty at like 38 years old, yeah.
And he can be very annoying in this movie, but it's kind of endearing. It's weird.
Did you believe for 1 second that his character could score? Okay,
no,
all right, yeah, okay, all right, okay, all right, yep, yeah. What we were talking about was the third member of the crew is a pretty hot Asian woman, and they're dating in this, and it's unbelievable. It's totally unbelievable.
Yeah, and unfortunately, her role is such a nothing role.
Just
useless talent. Use of talent. All right, I'll try to go through the rest of these quickly. So, as the mercenaries, you got the leader of the mercenary group, Wes Studi as Hanover. He's a Cherokee Nation actor. He's done Dances with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans, Geronimo, Mystery Men. You'll know him from that.
Yeah.
One of John's favorites. Avatar. Basically, this guy left ranching to study acting and meet women back in the day. That was
good for him.
Yeah,
Wes Studi's awesome.
Yeah, he's really good. Then we have Jason Fleming with a Y as Mulligan. Basically, he does Guy Ritchie films, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch. That guy's pretty cool. Then we have Clifton Powell as Mason. He's done Menace to Society, Dead Presidents, Next Friday, CSI, NYPD Blue. Cliff Curtis as Mamuli. Basically, I don't know, he's kind of like a girl chaser in this, I guess. I'm not sure what his qualities are, but he talks about girls a lot.
Yeah, he's like constantly reading porno mags, and yeah, it's odd.
Yeah, so he's from New Zealand. He's done Three Kings, Training Day, Collateral Damage. The thing I know most from is Fear the Walking Dead. He was in the first couple seasons of that. Trevor Goddard as T-Ray. He's the guy that pukes after, who was it? Mason tells him a disgusting story, and then the other guy blows smoke in his face. He's kind of dime store Colin Farrell.
Dude. So yeah, he's Australian steroid Colin Farrell.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if it was just me, but that's what I got out of it.
Oh, he looks like if Colin Farrell took the what's the stuff that Bane gets all jacked up on? Venom.
Oh, right.
He looks like if Colin Farrell took Venom and went from being Irish to Australian. And in real life, sadly, he died very like a few years after this movie. Yeah.
So I was a little intrigued by this guy, so I went a little deeper. So he played, and I don't know how to say this because I don't give a shit about this movie. He played Kano in the film Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not a fan either.
Gone in 60 Seconds. He played Commander Brumby in Jag. He was part of the punk rock movement in Bromley, London, which is where Polly Styrene came from, Susie Sue, Billy Idol. So he was part of that whole scene. And he died, like you said, 2003 of a drug overdose of heroin, cocaine, Tampezimam, and Vicodin.
Well, if that won't do it, then nothing will.
Yeah. All right. One more here. Jimon Hansu as Vivo. And he gets a serious axe to the head, very surprisingly. French actor and model, Amistad Gladiator, Blood Diamond. I think was that like its breakout role, maybe? Blood Diamond?
Gladiator, I think, because he was Russell Crowe's friend. Yeah. Yeah,
he was the friend. He plays Korath the Pursuer in Marvel and Shazam in the Shazam movie and the Black Adam movie. And
he has a fantastic death scene because when you're watching this I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but when you're watching this in 2023 and you're not thinking about like what happens in this movie, you're thinking, oh, this is Jimon Hansu. He's going to last the whole movie, and he's the first of the mercenaries to die. A door opens up and he gets an axe to the head, which is really good. Yeah.
Right in the fucking middle of the forehead.
All right. Well, I got to say, I don't think the cast is a problem in this.
No, a lot of there's no leading people. It's all character actors.
Yeah, 100%. Did you read? They're all
good character actors.
And I can't picture this in any way, shape, or form. But did you read that before they offered it to Treat Williams, they offered it to Harrison Ford?
I did.
Yeah. I can just picture Harrison Ford going, "What is this movie all about?" And they're like, "Well, it's a bunch of mercenaries and a boat crew, and they go on this luxury liner that's been attacked by essentially a kaiju of some sort." I don't think so.
Right, just like that.
No thanks. I don't think so. No thanks. All right, let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes.
It was a run by fruiting.
All right, so Rotten Tomatoes, obviously very popular website for reviews and all that stuff. There is the critic score, and then there's the audience score. The critic score, if less than 60% of the reviews submitted are positive, you get a green splat. If more than 60% are positive, you get like the fresh red tomato. I can't remember on the critic scores, I didn't write it down here, what's considered positive, whether it's like a 70 and above, but whatever, that doesn't really matter. The audience score, if less than 60% of the audience give it, if the audience gives it a 3.5 or below, 60% would be a green splotch. If over 60% give it a 3.5 rating or above, then it gets it's
the popcorn.
It's a popcorn bucket spilt over
or straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Thank you for still listening to the Pint after that fucking massacre. That was terrible, but you get my point. Jesus
so what were
Christ.
The scores?
So the critical score based on 34 reviews is 32%. So that's
fucking low.
That's low, and that kind of gives you like one of the reasons why it's okay for us to do this episode is because even if you love Deep Rising, the critics did not. Here's the crazy part, though. Most people I know will say, "Why are you doing Deep Rising? That's a good movie." But based on the audience score, it only gets 43%, which is a tipped over popcorn bucket.
Right, not even 50.
And that's based on 10,000 reviews. So the 34 critic reviews were probably all in 98 or 99, right? And then they stopped, accepting them. I would assume. Yeah. And then there's 10,000 people that have voted that this movie is not very good. So that's just a little bit of the critical standpoint on Deep Rising. Let's look at the box office for when this came out, Manster, and let's talk about like how this thing did way back in 1998.
All you care about is money.
So for this weekend in 1998, we had Deep Rising came in at number 7 at 5.8 million. At number 6, also in its first week, Desperate Measures. Do you know what that is?
Is that the Michael Keaton? Michael Keaton is like a murderer in a hospital? There was definitely a Measures movie. Might have been Extreme Measures. I don't know.
So that came in number 6, 7.2. Number 5, Spice World.
Oh.
7.7.
Wait, hold on one second. I want to just ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Spice Girls, like, who's your Spice Girl? Is there one that, like, way back in the day you were like, this is my Spice Girl?
Oh, geez, not really. I mean, I was never really into him, but, you know, I guess.
But let's just be honest.
I typically like your sporty stuff, so maybe Sporty Spice, but okay. I don't know. What are they? I know you got Posh Spice, Sporty Spice. You got Black Spice.
Well, Black Spice is Scary Spice.
Scary Spice. Okay.
Baby Spice, and then Ginger Spice. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just stick with whatever I said before.
Okay. Well, I'm saying we know you back in 1998, you were a younger man and you had a penis. So I just assumed maybe,
I still have them, by the way.
Oh, I know you do. I know.
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. How about yourself? Who's your spice of choice?
I gotta be honest. I think back in like 1998 when they were first around, I think it was the redhead Ginger Spice. I think there was something about her, probably,
That's probably who I like, because I like redheads too.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily have that thing going on with redheads or anything, but I kind of feel like I remember that. I know, like, this was a time in the world. I know my buddy John, who I lived with around this time, loved Baby Spice, the blonde one. And my other roommate,
pigtails.
She had pigtails, and she wore like the, she wore like the baby girl dresses. And I know for sure that my other buddy, my roommate Mike, loved Scary Spice. I remember he loved her, and she ended up marrying and divorcing and having a kid with Eddie Murphy a few years later. But yeah. Oh, you're looking now. Which one? Which one are you going for?
Yeah, none of these girls really do it for me. Whichever one is on the far left, I don't know who it is. She got straight black hair, and she's a bit taller than the rest.
I think that's probably Victoria Beckham, Posh Spice, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know who's who. All right, so that's my spice preference.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to know. Hey, we talk about Spice World. We got to talk about Spice Girls.
All right. Number 4, As Good as It Gets, 8.2 million. Number 3, Good Will Hunting at 10 million in its 9th week. 9 freaking weeks, man. 10 million.
Big surprise, that movie. Big surprise.
Yeah. And at number 2, Great Expectations in its first week, 11.8 million. And at number 1, no surprise, Titanic, 32 million in its 7th week.
Titanic, which we will be doing on episode 300, by the way. If you didn't know, come back in a few weeks. Titanic, obviously at one point for many years was the number 1 box office, movie of all time. I mean, do you remember, we're going to talk about Titanic, so we'll also talk about it on that episode. But do you remember that time when that movie was out, like how it was insane? It was like the world was insane over this 100-year-old fucking boat.
That's right. I saw it. I don't think it was opening night, but I saw it, opening week or month or whatever. Definitely.
Yeah, I know I saw it twice in the theaters. I don't know if it was with, I was dating Lindsay at the time, so I probably saw it with her, and I might have saw it with one of my buddies. And that's a combined like 17 hours in a movie theater for one movie, even on 2 viewings.
So I've got $45 million here as a budget.
That's pretty good. That's pretty solid.
So 5.8 for the first week. I mean, it's number 7, but, it's not too bad. But, all right, so maybe here's the beginnings of the cracks is it's going against Titanic and Great Expectations and Good Will Hunting and As Good as It Gets. All pretty good movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a genre movie. You know what I mean? Like, It seems like by those movies, it seemed like this period in 1998 was like adult time at the movie theaters. Like, let's go see As Good as It Gets about this guy with, crippling OCD, or let's go see Good Will Hunting about this boy genius who's longing for love and acceptance. Or let's go see Titanic, this, story about a almost 100-year-old romance and this myth, this boat that basically changed the world. Or let's go see something with Treat Williams and fucking like, I don't know, giant octopi or whatever what is the thing in this, by the way?
So this is CGI. It is tentacles, right? So when we first see the creatures, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. But when we finally see them, it's like this long tentacle thing with an alien type mouth.
Right.
And as Roger Ebert basically said, and this, I wouldn't discount this as to why it didn't do that well either. He basically put it in his most hated list, calling it essentially an alien clone with a fresh paint job. And then a lot of other people said, similar things. It's an old-fashioned B movie with a movie budget effects. They call it cheap thrills and stuff like that. So they're not giving it, they're not calling this thing a serious movie. And people listened to Roger Ebert back then, so maybe that kept a few million people away. I don't know. But these things, so there's these tentacles that come out. They seem to be sentient or be able to sense things, right? Like smell or sight or hearing or something.
Yeah.
And they have a mouth that opens, and you get that fucking like 4-prong thing, kind of like predator mouth, but bigger. And then another mouth inside, right? So sort of like Alien. And they fucking just attack, and they can eat a human whole and suck it right up, suck all the juice out.
You said eat a human whole, and I'm like, ooh, what hole is he talking about? And then I realized
he loves the whole.
WHOLE.
Yeah. And so I think we'll get into more of that creature later, but that's basically the creature. So it's a tentacle with a very serious mouth.
Do you generally like we did an episode once where we did like man versus monster or man, that kind of thing, man versus animal, man versus monster. Do you generally like these kind of movies? Like, cause I gotta say, like, I love movies that are like, or episodes of science fiction shows where the crew find a derelict ship, and something's going on. Do you like that kind of stuff?
I do, yeah. Kind of like even like Deep Impact. What's the one we did with Sam Neill?
Oh, Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, yeah, not Deep Horizon. Yeah, so I do like that derelict ship. Like something's on the ship. A lot of TV, a lot of like Battlestar Galactica does stuff like that, and Star Trek. I like those kind.
Do you think? I mean, I think this is probably pretty easily answerable, but I'll ask you: do you think that if this movie did have, I won't say Harrison Ford, but do you think that if this movie had bigger star power, that it might have been, I don't want to say did better in the box office, because that's almost a guarantee. Like if you put someone's name on it that's bigger than Treat Williams, it's going to attract more people. But do you think that maybe it would have been taken more seriously, or people, even if it was the same movie, right down to the nuts and bolts of it, do you think a bigger star could have maybe just gotten a little bit more leeway from critics on this?
That's a good question, because I'm not really sure that is the case in this movie. I don't know why. What do you think?
It's tough.
I feel like Treat Williams is like a really good star for this movie.
I agree. I love Treat Williams in this. Treat Williams has been in a lot of things I enjoy. But again, this movie suffered at the box office, and it suffered critically when it came out. And, I know the box office would have been better if it was Harrison Ford. Even if it was a shit Harrison Ford movie, it would have done $10 more million based on his name alone, probably. Yeah. But sometimes it feels almost like when movies have like bigger stars attached to them, they could either get socked harder by the critics or given a pass a little bit more by the critics.
Yeah, I feel like if it was a Harrison Ford, it would be more like, oh, that's that shit Harrison Ford movie.
Yeah.
Whereas with it being Treat Williams, you're like, oh, that's that cool Treat Williams movie.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. Let's get into, cause we're at that point. Let's get into our likes and dislikes of this movie.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Manster, why don't you start us off? Give me a like. What did you like about Deep Rising?
Well, first thing I like, I actually kind of have a lot of likes, so let's see if I can like lump some in. I like how Treat Williams, who wouldn't be your typical leading man, like your Harrison Ford, but I love how he handles situations. I love how he handled the situation when the mercenaries were beating up, was it Joey?
Yeah, when they're kicking the shit out of Joey for finding the missiles, yeah.
And he fucking stood up to them. He's holding guns at them, and like he's the man in charge and don't fuck around, even though these guys are just ready to kill anyone.
Right.
So I love how he handles the situations, especially with them. And he has a certain, gravitas about him in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he fucking drives a jet ski through the halls of a cruise liner for 15 minutes at the end of the movie, and he does it.
Yeah, right.
He does it awesomely.
How fucking long this thing is, but man, oh man, and part of that, one of my favorite scenes, and you get it twice, is so Famke Janssen's on the back, and he's got the gun, and he like leads his gun back, and he goes, cock it.
Yeah.
And the first time she cocks it, she holds it from underneath and cocks the gun, and then he shoots at the creature. And then he does it again, but he's shooting outdoors this time. And the second time, her hand is on top. And it was fucking sexy cock. I'm going to have to say, she cocked that thing pretty nice.
Western style. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thumbs down, overhand grip. All right, I'll go with my first like. This is a movie they don't really make anymore. Like this kind of like just, mid-tier budget action creature film. I mean, whether you liked them or not, in the late to mid 90s, there was a lot of these. There was Mimic by Guillermo del Toro. There was the Relic. They kind of all lump in like these like things that are going bump in the night, and the people that are going up against them. And I just like stuff like that. I like the idea of this movie. I mean, again, I don't understand why the mercenaries need to hire a boat. Like, you're mercenaries. You probably make millions of dollars. They're dealing in missiles and, making money off of the guy that owns the boat. Buy your own fucking boat. But you know what? I still like it because you get the whole cast together, right? And you have this, like, these two opposing forces, right? You have the crew of the ship that just want to get through this. And then you have all these mercenaries, and the mercenaries are, again, Jaemun Hunsu, Wes Studi, jacked up Australian Colin Farrell. We get some pretty good Cliff Curtis, and they all have their little beats, right? Like, like you said, Cliff Curtis is like the pervert, and the Australian guy is like the hothead, and the Jason Fleming character is like kind of like the second in command, but like when he thinks that Treat Williams killed the Australian guy, he's like, I'm gonna blow you. He's like, he's kind of like, the revenge guy. I don't know. I enjoy, like, when I watch this movie, I just enjoy what they're putting out there for us. It's entertaining. Like
like the interactions of all the people.
Right. The interactions of the crew. And I use the word entertaining because, not to be a dick, but like we talked about the box office, right? And it went up against As Good as It Gets, and it went up against Good Will Hunting, and it went up against Titanic and Great Expectations. Are those really entertaining? Like, look, like, again, Good Will Hunting's a fine movie. I saw it once. I enjoyed it. Titanic, we'll talk about that. But like, are they really, do you go to a movie like that to be entertained? And I don't think you do. I'm entertained by Deep Rising.
Right. Yeah, good point. So another of my and I guess I'm going pretty generic here, but I like the effects. And there's a mixture of practical effects and CGI, special effects.
Right.
And I think they meld really well. I think we're at that time where they were like transitioning, probably more towards CGI at that point. But they had some fantastic practical effects. Like, so at one point they're kind of like figuring out what's going on, and they go down this corridor, and the metal walls of the corridor just start like caving in, right? And there's bloody, gooey skeletons like on the floor, and you just feel this sense of enclosure and claustrophobia because these walls are literally caving in around them. Like in real life, they had to figure out a way to cave in these walls, and the sound of the metal and stuff. So that's really good. And then another pretty rad scene is when they had lost Billy, and they didn't know where Billy was, and then he drops out of one of the tentacles.
that scene's fucking gross. It's awesome.
Oh my God, half his face is gone, and he's dripping, like his flesh is still dripping off of him because he's still like melting.
He's standing there like making noises. His eyeballs like half dissolved. His skull is. He looks almost like fucking Breaking Bad. Gus Fring. He looks like Gus Fring, kind of like with the skull hanging out and his arm. And like the creepiest part is like he can't talk. He's just like going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they go deeper into the bowels of the ship, you've got that room with like hundreds of corpses and these bloody skeletons again. Like they're dripping, they're gooey, they're disgusting. And what did I heard at one point? I saw one of the special featurettes. I think we both have the same disc, don't we? From the archive.
Kino Lorber, yeah.
Yeah, and they had some good featurettes on that. And there's somewhere in that mixture of bloody skeletons, there's a I'll have to find in my notes. I'm just going to say like a Yoda or something ridiculous in there. I'll find it before we're done.
I mean, do you know who was the special effects makeup supervisor on this?
It wasn't Bottin, was it?
Yeah, Rob Bottin.
Yeah, it was Bottin. Okay.
Yeah, which I never knew until I watched it this time, and I also watched several of the featurettes on the awesome Kino Lorber like special edition. Because like you said, there is a lot of CGI, but there is also a good amount of practical stuff.
Good practical, yep. How about you? What's another like?
Oh, let's see. I like a lot about this movie. I like the fact, I mean, I'm gonna go and kind of piggyback on what you said, but kind of get a little more specific. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that this is a late 90s movie that has CGI in it, that the CGI is good, is passable to good, right? So like if you're talking about stupendous CGI, you're talking about Jurassic Park, you're talking about Terminator 2. Those are movies with much bigger budgets, right? But then we talked earlier about it. A couple years after this, The Scorpion King comes out, or The Mummy Returns comes out, and The Scorpion King looks like, it looks terrible. So the fact that this movie relied so heavily on like the creature being CGI, and the fact that there are definitely scenes in this where you're like, okay, like that's certainly 1998 CGI, but it's never like, oh shit, that's fucking terrible.
Right, you're right.
I like that. I like the fact that, look, yes, it's not, again, for the budget level they had, $45 million, 1997 or 1998 money, they were able to make a movie that I can watch and not go, oh man, Deep Rising looks like a fucking piece of shit now, because it doesn't. Again, it's not mind-blowing, but they did a good job. And I watched some of the animatics on how they did the creature, the CGI, and that's always fascinating stuff. Again, the archive in Bridgeport. Got to get down there and get some good DVDs and Blu-rays.
So more about the creature. What did you think of Canton's explanation of how the creature grew so big? Because when it's at the depths of the ocean, it's like this tiny little like creature that you wouldn't even notice it.
Right,
but as it rises, it expands because that's what happens with the pressure and all that stuff. And by the time it got to their level, it became this creature that was in the ship. I thought that was a pretty cool.
I'm fine with that. I think that was great. That was great.
Yeah, me too. I liked it. I don't think they needed to explain anything, but I think they attempted to explain it, and they did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, what do you got for another like, Master?
I guess I'll go with that creature thing, what I just said. The exploding ship, again, I guess there's more effects. That was pretty cool. I liked, even though I don't like the character, I like Anthony Hill's portrayal of this shitbag Canton character. And the fact that he spent his whole life, dreaming of making this ship, and all he wants to do is sink it and get the money back.
Yeah, he wants the insurance money. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I agree.
And Anthony Hill does it so well. So perfectly cast.
Yeah, I like, I like the, if I have to go with another like, I like the, I don't want to say the will they or won't they. I like the relationship like between Finnegan and Trillian, which if she married him, she'd be Trillian Finnegan, which is fucking an awful name. But they have this kind of like understanding, like, I'll get you off this boat, and and she is just as involved in like everything that's going on with everybody else. She's not like, I like the fact that they didn't make the female lead like some like damsel in distress. Like, yeah, she certainly has her moments. Like when, what is it? The scene, is it the scene where the guy gets puked out and dies, or another scene where she freaks out and runs into Finnegan's arms and holds him because she's so like distraught by it. But like, that's just regular shit. Like, people get distraught by seeing some dude get thrown up by a tentacle monster. It happens.
It happens.
I would run to you and I would bury my head in your supple man chest and fucking cry.
Right there.
Right there.
All right. How about some dislikes? All right.
So this is like a weird dislike. I don't know if I love the very, very, very end, because the very end of the movie, our heroes, including Joey, who apparently bit the dust, but he survived, end up on a isolated island, and they're going to be stuck there, and Finnegan and Trillian kind of like make it, there's like a joke about like how basically they're just going to spend their whole time on the island fucking or something, and Joey's like, oh great, I'm going to be stuck here for that. Yeah. But then the movie ends on this cool note where like something in the woods of the island, in the forest, in the jungle, like bellows, and all these birds fly out of the trees, and like
there's something literally eating the landscape.
Right. Like the camera pans back and we see the trees moving, and it ends on that note where it's like, okay, our heroes are now stuck, on this island.
There's a volcano in the background erupting.
Right. There's something else happening here. And I guess maybe my dislike is, I don't know if it's a dislike. It's just almost like I either A, wish they had given us a sequel, or B, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I know I'm not making sense right now, but like, I wanted more, I guess.
Is that there wasn't more of it.
Yeah, I guess that there wasn't more of it. I guess the fact that, and maybe this is just the way it was planned. Maybe if Deep Rising made $300 million in the box office, we would have gotten a sequel 2 years later that would have been these three characters on this island, and it's a different type of monster, and there happens to be these other people on the island. That would have been cool.
Certainly could have been like that.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is I like the ending. I kind of dislike how it left us hanging, Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't like when Trillian gets caught by Canton and Atherton.
Yeah.
He freaking just slaps her in the face for no reason.
Oh, right, yeah.
That really bugged me. And the same thing happened in another movie we recently watched, Kickboxer. The girl got stolen. It was about to get raped, but before he raped her, he hit her.
Yeah, well, yeah. As these things go.
Yeah, so they just like such a quick I wonder if Anthony Heald didn't just do that on his own. He just got caught up in that moment. Boom!
Just popped her.
Yeah, just popped her. I'm gonna say they created a love interest with Joey, and I can't even remember her character's name. So
yeah, well, she's inconsequential.
She never did anything. She stayed on the ship. She stayed on the tugboat and never went on the ship. And then when they came back, she was just gone, like assumed dead.
She almost is only there. She's almost only there to have that one moment where Joey mourns her. Yeah. Like, I guess to make him more of a human character, but like he's already a human character. Like he's kind of like our comic relief, and he's kind of like the weakling of the crew. Like he obviously already gotten his ass kicked by all these mercenaries. So you already feel for this guy. He's not a character that you want to die in this thing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the creature a little bit.
Okay.
So I already talked about the tentacles and, the mouths at the end, which were okay. And then, so it seemed like those tentacles were like just creatures on their own, right? Going into crazy places, into vents, down pipes, sucking people up. Little do we know that they're attached to a much larger creature that we see later on in the middle of the ship, right?
Right.
A massive, massive creature that's not going to be getting around quickly. Yet all of his tentacles go in every direction for miles and miles, right? Chasing people down corridors on jet skis. That makes no fucking sense.
Well, I mean, it goes along with a scene you brought up earlier that as I was watching it, I said, this makes no sense. So the scene where the hallway is crushing in on itself.
Yeah.
How are the tentacles on all sides? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I took that as the actual body of the creature itself,
but it wasn't. The creature was in the ballroom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the creature biology, let's say, didn't really make. And you know how that stuff kind of bugs me a little.
I know.
If I can't figure it out, I mean, unless those tentacles were a mile long each, there's no way they're following every single person down every single hallway.
You would have almost preferred if it was a bunch of smaller creatures in this movie.
Although, I guess that's what I'm saying. Although the big, massive creature in the end was pretty cool to look at, and I thought the CGI for that was pretty fantastic as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of brought up some of the stuff that, like, I thought that as well to a lesser degree, but like, there was certain logistical points. I'm like, well, how is this thing like moving again? Like, how is it crushing all the sides of this hallway? Like, did it like prolapse its giant creature rectum and send that out as well? Like, what is this thing doing? I don't did it unfurl its rectum and now it's just destroying this room?
Right. Did it turn itself inside out? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. I don't have a whole lot of more dislikes for this one. I would really have to dig. Do you have much else or no?
I don't have anything else for dislikes.
All right. Well, then, since we are done with our likes and dislikes, there's only one thing left to do. We get to our triple T portion of our ratings, trash, tolerable, or treasure. Let's do that now.
Don't judge me, monkey.
All right, let's. I'll go first. I think this is a well-made B movie, made entirely with character actors. It's fun and goofy, I think, but just serious enough to sort of keep it on track. It has great effects, good pacing, good direction. I mean, and it has a lot of movie references, which we didn't really talk about. To much better films like the Alien movie thing, Star Wars. Oh, by the way, one thing I wanted to bring up. When they're chasing at one point, the floorboards come up.
Oh, that's a thing. That's an absolute...
That's from The Thing, right?
The
Thing. But isn't that in other movies? I feel like that's in like almost every
it's I don't want to say
horror or sci-fi.
That's so what you're talking about is there's a scene when they're in one of the hallways of the ship where the creature's obviously coming at them from underneath the ground, and the floorboards all start to like kind of come up and go down as the creature's moving. That's definitely a huge reference to The Thing, the John Carpenter Thing. That happens at the very end of the movie when MacReady is getting the dynamite ready and all that stuff. I'm sure it's been in other things, but
Tremors probably.
Yeah, it's certainly in The Thing, and I wouldn't doubt if it was probably not just done as a reference to The Thing, but the fact that Rob Bottin was involved with this, that was probably a little tip of the hat to him.
So this movie is definitely not trash. And it's definitely not tolerable. To me, this movie is a treasure, man.
Yeah.
This is a great movie. I have a special edition of it, like you said. It's great. I love it. I hadn't watched it before up until you had mentioned it years ago, and then I watched it and I thought it was good, and then bought that special DVD and watched it again a few times. I'm like, this is a fun-ass good movie.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the easiest triple T's for anybody that listens to us to know right off the bat that this is a treasure for both of us. I can't come up with many things I don't like about this movie. We also spoiled it by mentioning that we have the special edition Blu-rays, which probably says it isn't trash. But yeah, the critics, whatever, critics are critics. Unfortunately for people way back in 1998, they missed out on this in the theaters. I didn't see it. And I'll be honest, probably in 1998 when I saw the trailers for this and saw it was Treat Williams and the chick from Bond that crushes dudes with her pussy, I probably went, like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw it like, maybe the year later when it finally came out on VHS. And I dug it then, and I still dig it very much. So yeah, Deep Rising, two treasures from us. Two treasures.
Double treasure.
So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I don't know where it's streaming. Me and Lloyd both obviously watched it on our wonderful, special edition Blu-rays from Kino Lorber. If you want to go see if they have it at the archive, go to the archive. Yeah. On Instagram, follow them, go to their website. And if you're in Connecticut, you should definitely go down and check them out. We love that place. The Archive in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's Vinegar Syndrome's store. So
you must go.
You must go. I must go back soon. They're having a big sale this weekend too. I think this is their halfway to Black Friday sale. Yeah, I gotta work this motherfucking job.
I'm gonna be in New Haven on Saturday, so maybe
you might want to swing by. By. All right, Manster, tell everybody where they can find more of our stuff, and then tell them the words that make the show end.
I will. You can subscribe on any of your podcatchers: Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Stitcher, all that. On Facebook and YouTube, you can find us at The Pint, a pop culture podcast. On Instagram and Twitter, it's at The Pint Podcast. And if you want, become a Patreon. You get lots of great stuff there. We're currently expanding our Van Damuary episodes, so you're going to get more of those on the Patreon feed. So become a Pint Insider at www.patreon.com/The Pint. And this is going to make you go away. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!